Oh.
We should. I think is there somebody saying I guess no stream tonight?
Wow.
I don't think we were.
Now we are.
Ah!
Wow. Wow.
Because I was like seeing people and I was like, oh, what's up? What's going on? And I'm like, I thought we started. We've been talking this whole time.
Yeah, the chat's been going nuts, so I've just been kind of going.
Yeah, I thought so too.
This is why I hate the YouTube Studio, is because now I have to go to YouTube Studio and hit stream. And I thought I had clicked the button, but apparently I missed it.
Yeah, we've been just talking amongst ourselves.
We've been on the air for 14 minutes now.
And it was the best intro we did.
It was
the best one.
It was
and
great.
Everybody missed it. Oh man.
It was great. Unfortunately, it just turned out me talking to you.
Yeah, because usually it's like people are like, "Oh, I'm drinking." Because when we say what we're going to be drinking, I'm like, everybody says what they're drinking. I'm like, how come nobody's saying that? And I'm like, oh crap.
Yep.
Video looks good though.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's start over again, I guess.
Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 178. Your once weekly live show, the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in podcast form on the replay over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, tech, games, pop culture, entertainment, and tonight there will be Star Trek.
Yes.
This is a family-friendly show in both language and content, and all super chats are read on the air so long as they meet those family-friendly criteria. We do drink alcohol on the show, especially now. I think I'm going to need a second one of these. And if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat and we will give some early show shout-outs as we go along. Although less likely now since we're 15 minutes behind schedule.
Yes, that's right. I am getting a weird sense of deja vu, though.
I am.
Yeah.
It's like we've been here before.
Something like that, yeah.
And if you want to join the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Floatplane or Patreon. Links are both down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all of the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome and ever-growing community over there.
Yep.
I already asked you how you were today, Steve, but...
and I said I was great. And
how's it going, man?
It's going great. It's going really good. It's going better now that everybody can see my beautiful face.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was hoping for. Yeah, and we already cracked open our drinks too. We already started drinking.
We did.
So that's even better.
Well, we can cut out some of the intro then. Steve,
we could.
What are you drinking for your first one?
I'm drinking for my first one. It's called Puff Puff Passion. It is a dry hopped passion fruit sour ale by Ex Novo. It's got sexy lady on the can, so that's why I picked it. Make out with her. The beer.
half the time you buy beer because that sounds good. The other half that looks really cool. I like the can art.
Well, that is a thing because I've seen lately how they will copy like brands of stuff.
Yeah.
And people will be like, "Oh, that's clever," and they'll buy it. You know,
fruit stripe gum,
like fruit stripe gum or something like that.
Yeah, they'll use recognizable enough imagery and colors. Where you could call it copyright infringement or trademark infringement or what, but at the same time it's also not because it's parody, and so it's this real fine line that a lot of breweries try to skirt, and but sometimes put their foot over the line. But people they're clever enough and people buy them, so because there's a few of them that are just like they must have some kind of like the A-Drop theory where they have all the G.I. Joe characters on the front. They must have some kind of like permission from Hasbro to do that. Something, you would think. All right. Let's see. John Jay's got a Pineapple Farm Hazy IPA from Coronado Brewing. Let's see. And we all must have been talking amongst ourselves. Yeah, that's pretty much what was going on.
That's what we were doing.
Skull's got a Surly Brewing. Give the devil his due. Double dry hopped hazy double IPA.
Oh, wonderful.
LMG Kyle is drinking Jägermeister.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of Jägermeister, but hey, to each their own.
Yep. Fancy's got a nice bottle of water. Was it like Perrier or you?
Dasani.
Yeah, Dasani. Dasani, you know. Don't give me some of that. What's Pepsi's brand? Aquafina.
Aquafina.
Don't give me that crap. At least go Smart Water.
want to go one up from vitamin water and get steroid water.
Steroid water
with steroids, yeah. It's for the the people who you really want to get some gains.
Just go straight Brondo. It's got what plants need.
Yeah,
it's got what plants crave.
That's what plants crave.
Build from above, drinking a Mexico Mule tonight. I'm assuming that's a tequila mule. Excellent. Yeah. Sabro sipping on gin and juice. Nothing wrong with that.
I love gin and juice.
Costco lemonade cut with water. That is from,
a little too hard for me.
That's from Awesome Physics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whoa, slow down.
Yeah, come on. It's just borderline illegal, guys.
Lethal's got a Dragon's Milk.
Dragon's Milk's great.
Yes. Magic Rat's got a Noble Oak Bourbon. I've not heard of that distillery.
Mm-mm.
Leon's got a Monster Pacific Punch. Keeping the energy going into this late night. T-Cause has a ginger tea, and Joe is drinking a Space Dust. Excellent.
John's got O'Doul's.
John's got O'Doul's. Yeah. Which is apparently his favorite non-alcoholic beer.
Yes, that's the one he picked out. He did. So we have, as people who don't know, me and John are brothers, and all our family live in the area, and so at least once a month we have a family dinner get together, and me and John usually bring some beers. But this time, since John's doing the non-alcohol stuff, he brought all the non-alcoholic beers, so I got to try some of it.
Mm-hmm. And
I didn't like any of it. Right. I mean, it tasted like beer, but it just wasn't great.
Right. Yeah, just because you put hops and malt in it does not a beer make.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'd be more interested in trying some of the craft non-alcoholic ones, but
yeah,
the domestic ones were not good.
I will say, what is that? The Klausthalers, the hopped German waters. Those are actually really tasty.
Lagunitas puts out the hop water, which I find excellent tasting. It's 0 calories. It's really
crisp, refreshing. It's solid.
Yeah, it's tasty.
Yep. All right, and I am drinking from Old Town Brewing, their Pillowfest Hazy IPA. Oops, wrong button there. There we go. Yep. This is a 6.8% hazy, tropical, juicy, and ripe is what they call it. So, Columbus, Citra, Mosaic, and Amarillo hops, which is kind of an interesting combo now that I think about it.
How does it taste? You already worked on it. Pretty good?
It's a hazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I figured. Yeah, mine is it tastes fine. It just tastes like a sour with passion fruit. I don't get too much hop notes in it. But
what's funny is before you said the word passion fruit, the thing I was thinking was this smells actually slightly like passion fruit.
Oh yeah.
And maybe a little lemon. Like it's definitely on the super soury bitter side of things, but still citrusy. And like grapefruit, lemon rind, melon rind, kind of like it's that bitter sour.
Yeah, but the kind of flavors you get from those citrusy style hops. Yeah,
right, exactly. So yeah, definitely an interesting hop mix. Definitely acidic, and definitely one that after half a pint, that's all you're going to taste for the next 2 days.
Yes. We've talked about how those hazies just kind of coat your tongue with that lupulins, and just like after a while, you're like, ugh.
Which unfortunately may make me not enjoy my second beer quite as much. I didn't think this one through.
Well, just off camera, just get a tongue scraper and just.
I got the bottle opener.
Oh, that'll work. There you go. Yeah. Don't do it off camera. Just do it on camera. Okay.
Yeah, just do it on camera. This is my show.
Yeah, you can do what you want.
That's right. Novella Hub, $5 donation. Thank you so much, buddy. Montgomery Brewing, Grootslang Barrel-Aged Russian Imperial Stout, 10.3%.
Nice.
And Parker, $5 donation. Good night from Oscar Blues here.
Yeah, wonderful.
Sounds delish. All right, let's go ahead and get into some news now.
There we go.
So, this is a story that's kind of come up and then died and then come up and then died again, and now it's back up again. And that is Ubiquiti suffered a breach back in January. So January 2021, just a couple of months ago. And the reason it keeps coming back up is new information keeps coming out about what the breach actually was and how bad the breach actually was, as well as Ubiquiti's own internal security policies are coming into question. The story goes, in January, an unknown third party gained access to Ubiquiti Network's internal files, so databases, customer records, source code, etc. And they said this was up to a third party. They hacked into a third party and acquired this material from them. So, we're not at fault, guys, was kind of the thing from them. But they didn't do a great job disclosing what the potential issues were, because they said that usernames, email addresses, and some customer information may have been made available, as well as salted hashed passwords. But if they have the master keys, they may be able to unsalt them. Yep. So the recommendation from everyone except Ubiquiti was, if you have a Ubiquiti account, reset your password.
Yep.
Just to be on the safe side. Well, Ubiquiti didn't disclose this until March, which is not nearly as fast as I'd like them to be, but it's also not waiting 6 months either. And so it's kind of hard to say from January 14th to March 2nd, you didn't do it fast enough, but I also kind of say they didn't do it fast enough. Disclosures should be your secondary priority next to figuring out what the hack was and then cordoning off that information. I mean, that's 1 and 2. That's your first remediation step. The second step is figuring out what data got out and who do we need to tell. They did not do a great job telling people about this data breach.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I think the bad news about this particular breach anyway, that was outlined in the article, is that the SQL level, the database level, they didn't have any logging on there. So they didn't really know if people access this or not. So they have to assume that somebody did, because the vulnerability that the hacker got into would have had access to this data.
Right.
But they have no logging, so they don't know if they did or not. So I guess you just have to assume that they did.
Right. So the official word from Ubiquiti was, "Dear customer, we recently became aware of unauthorized access to certain of our information technology systems hosted by a third-party cloud provider. We have no indication that there has been any unauthorized activity with respect to any user accounts. We are not currently aware of evidence to access any databases that host user data, but we cannot be certain that user data has not been exposed.
Right.
This may include your name, email address, and one-way encrypted passwords to your account." So the passwords are hashed and salted. So to their credit, they did properly manage their internal password structures.
That's good, because we've come across several stories where
they were just plain text on a server.
plain text passwords.
In some cases on a web server that was accessible to the public. Those are the bad ones.
Yes.
Anyway, so the reason this is back in the news now is the disclosure was, I believe, on March 2nd of this attack that happened sometime in the middle of January. And so it kind of rose in the news and then fell, but it's coming back into the news because there's an internal whistleblower at Ubiquiti who says he was involved in the remediation process and the post-mortem process. And this was a much larger breach than Ubiquiti let on, and it was also not a third-party vulnerability. This was not someone accessed data that was hosted on a third-party vendor with us. This was the third party was Amazon Web Services hosting Unify's internal data.
Yeah.
So this was not a third-party breach. This was a first-party breach. If you're renting the server space from Amazon, they're your servers.
Yeah, they're your servers.
Like, let's be realistic about this.
Yeah.
That's like, gosh, that's
someone hacks into your network and gets access to wherever it's being hosted on. It's not the host's fault.
Right.
It's still your security.
Right. Well, it could be the host's fault.
It could be
in the case of like NordVPN last year.
Right. Yeah.
But this was not the host's fault. This was not, and they were trying to make Amazon fall on the sword. And just because it was a third-party cloud service doesn't mean that your password wasn't leaked.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what happened. The whistleblower claims on Tuesday this week. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this up on screen. In reality, Adam said, the attackers had gained administrative access to Ubiquiti servers at Amazon's cloud service, which secures the underlying server hardware and software, but requires the cloud tenant to secure access to any data stored there. So they were able to get cryptographic secrets for a single sign-on cookie and remote access, full source code content, and signing keys exfiltration. So they got source codes, base software, and all of their signing keys. So if you have not changed your password, change your password.
Yeah.
Adam says the attacker, and Adam is a pseudonym. They're calling the whistleblower Adam just for ease of writing. So Adam says the attacker has access to privileged credentials that were previously stored in the LastPass account of a Ubiquiti IT employee and gained root administrator access to all Ubiquiti AWS accounts, including all S3 data buckets, all application logs, all databases, all user database credentials, and secrets required to forge single sign-on cookies. That's a big deal.
Yeah. That's a huge deal.
That is much bigger than Ubiquiti let on of they had access to our databases, but we don't feel that there was any targeted information. They had root access to everything.
They had the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Which is always bad when you have,
Novella Hub says Ubiquiti 1, 2, 3, 4. This was not a good hack. This was not Skull said it perfectly in the chat. My one reaction to this is thinking of Ubiquiti, I expected better.
Yeah.
I expected better from a lot of different regards in this. I expect them to have better internal security first and foremost. I was a systems administrator for 10 years. At my rinky-dink enterprise setups, we had better internal security and auditing than it appears Ubiquiti does for their entire system. Unless, I was about to say, even if it was like the CTO's credentials were breached, why does the CTO have root access?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. Is not even I had root access to things that I didn't need, and I am the administrator.
Yeah.
My account credentials don't cross that line if I don't need onto that server. Now, I do know where to get those account credentials, but we kept those divided between a couple of employees, and if you got root credentials, it was for that one system.
Yeah.
It wasn't
compartmentalized, right?
Right. It was compartmentalized. Yeah. Everything internally, security-wise and validation-wise, was always compartmentalized to what do you need access to. We use service accounts for administrative access to local servers, local machines, etc. So if a password was breached, it was, oh no, they have access to our HVAC system and only our HVAC system. Guess what? We can change one password and we're done.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that big of a deal. And then or they got access to our employee database, or they got access to this, or they got access to that. But one password does not get you into the entire system. So my first question to Ubiquiti is, who had root access to everything? And why did they have root access to everything? Yeah. I don't care what the position was. That's unacceptable. Secondly, they needed to be way more upfront with their disclosure. We recently became aware of unauthorized access to certain of our information technology systems hosted by a third cloudy provider. It doesn't matter if it was third party. If you are renting the server space, you take ownership of what happened.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they breached the Amazon credentials using an employee's LastPass login, or if they breached your servers using your LastPass login. It was your employee who was breached. That's your responsibility. No clever words here in passing the buck on a third-party provider, regardless of how technically true that statement may be. It's a third-party provider. We just pay for it. Like,
well, I mean, even okay, once it's announced that it was, Amazon, the implications are, well, if this is Amazon's fault, then an Amazon hosts for a lot of people,
right?
That would indicate that there's a flaw in Amazon systems,
right?
Which has bigger implications for everybody else.
You're half a sentence away from slander right there.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So that's my second thing is don't pass the buck when it was your problem. Thirdly, what are you doing to remediate this kind of attack in the future? There is no information in this email, nor in a postmortem or anything else, on how they will be changing security policies in the future to make sure this never happens again. And fourthly, and this is really sad that this is fourth on the list, is the timeliness of your disclosure and what was in the disclosure. Because all you say is it may contain username, email, and one-way encrypted password. If they had root access to everything, they have access to everything. They have access to credit card data. They have access to transactional data. They have access to geographic IPs. They have access to this, to that. Because remember, Ubiquiti is not just a hardware vendor. They sell you the device so you can host your own network wherever, but they provide a cloud login so you can log into it from wherever, which means your account credentials log into your router, and your account credentials are also linked to your Unify account, which has your credit card, your billing address, your shipping address, your everything else. That's more than they disclosed.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that information was inside of that root access if they had root access to their Amazon Web Services account. So, again, Skull said it best. I expect better. I expect better of such a large company. Ubiquiti is still not the biggest network hardware provider, OEM, manufacturer, whatever you want to call them. Cisco, Meraki, Aruba. Yeah, they all tower over them. HPE, but Ubiquiti is not exactly a small player either. I mean, they're still a multi-$100 million business.
Well, they're publicly traded.
They're publicly traded, which means you have enough money to hire a security analyst, which means you have enough money to hire internal security auditors, which means you have enough money to be pen tested, which means you have enough money to do all of the things that you should be doing as a cloud provider of services. I expect better. And that's coming from someone who's bought Ubiquiti gear for like 10, 11 years, like back to like their very first access point and switch.
You need one of those Game of Thrones bells where you just go shame.
Right. Shame, right. So I'm disappointed. And again, I've done this rant a couple of times where I'm disappointed in a company because I expected better of them, where they've let me down based on the support or the expertise they've given in the past. Ubiquiti is a networking company.
Yeah.
Network security should be first and foremost in their mind in every aspect of their business. And this one was just a complete drop of the ball.
Yep. Someone got fired probably, for sure.
Yeah, but this isn't going to stop me from you buying Ubiquiti hardware, but it is going to make me pay much closer attention over the next year. I'll say that much.
Oh, yeah.
So, $5 donation from Enga. Thank you so much. I've been thinking about building an FFmpeg encoding machine. I've seen socketable Xeon Phi chips. I don't want GPU encoding, CPU encoding for quality. Number one, it depends on what quality you are shooting for, because the new NVENC encoders on Turing Nvidia cards and above is freaking phenomenal. And if you can get a hold of a 3000 series card or one of the AMD 6000 series cards, they do AV1 encoding, which if you have compatible software will blow CPU quality out of the water in both time and actual end quality. I shouldn't say blow it out of the water, but again, depending on what you're doing, it's likely an imperceptible difference. Even with the new NVENC encoder, the X265 encoder that Nvidia has on their Turing and Ampere-based cards, that encoder is phenomenal and is equivalent to, I believe, the fast preset on a CPU encode. And even when you... And so render something in fast CPU encode and then render something in very slow and pixel peep it. Zoom in 5,000 times, look at individual, 100 by 100 sections, look for noise, look for compression artifacts, look for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You're going to be hard pressed to sell me on CPU slow versus CPU fast. And I'm telling you, NVENC version 2 beats or at least meets CPU fast and does it in about, 10% of the time. So, but that being said, Xeon Phi cards, no.
Is that a no?
That's a no.
Okay, just making sure.
Do not get a Xeon Phi card unless you are a programmer and you want to source code rewrite FFmpeg to do multi-instruction handling, like up to the 56 threads that the Xeon Phi card, or 68 threads or whatever the bloody heck those numbers are. You'd be much better served, honestly, by getting like a Ryzen 3900X. Much better served. Even some of the more obscure multi-core CPUs for Xeon platforms. So the 2699 V3 has actually just dropped below about $200 on most sites. So 18 cores, 36 threads, and if you can turbo unlock it, it'll do 3.6 gigahertz. That will... The socketable Xeon Phi. Socketable Xeon Phi is a little bit better, but they're still kind of purpose-driven. And good luck finding the affordability trade-off between a first-gen 3647 board versus going a little bit further used and getting a high-end X99 chip, a 2699 V3, an early-gen Threadripper kind of thing. On eBay today, there was a... what board was that? I want to say it was an Asus board with an X399, and it was a 1920X, so 12-core, 24-thread, and a Threadripper for $300 flat shipped.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So, or dual 2699 V3, yeah. Like this board I have right here behind me. Yeah. So, yeah. Xeon Phi comes up all the time for people who think multi-threaded is absolutely the way to go. The problem is you can throw 1 million atom cores at it. It's still 1 million atom cores. And they pale in comparison to x86. Or to true x86, fully unlocked, fully featured, fully instructionalized. So my recommendation is either very, very, very highly consider what quality level you are shooting for FFmpeg. And if NVENC could do just as good of a job as you're expecting. And if so, look at a GTX 1650 Super or a 1660. They're fairly, when they're not at the current climate, I'm sorry.
If you can find one.
If you can find one, they're fairly inexpensive. And whatnot. Or if you're set on doing CPU, look at some older dedicated, fully featured core multi-thread platforms, like a 2699 V3 on an X99 platform. You can even get dual socket boards for as little as like $150, $160. You'll be way better served than a 3647 socketable Xeon Phi.
Yeah, getting a video card nowadays is like hiring the A team. If you can find them and if you can afford them.
Yeah.
you can have it.
I don't want to say out loud how much I just spent on a video card because
you told me before we started.
My wife has agents everywhere.
Yeah.
But I needed a video card. I have a build coming up and I wasn't like, I know this sounds like 1% problems and I'm fully aware of that. I have a build that's coming up that is legit the most expensive build I've ever put together. And it's also the first time since the i7 920, so first generation X58 days, that I have had the top flight hardware in a rig when it was the top flight hardware. So I bought a 5950X, and I bought a very nice X570 motherboard, and I bought them based on color scheme as well as features that I'm looking for. I have a very specific set of features that I'm looking for. I'm going to fully water cool this thing, and it is going to look just money when it is done. I've got some cool plans. But I wasn't going to reuse my RTX 2080 because that's not the top flight card right now. I wanted the top flight card in my top flight build. And so it was 3090 or 6900 XT. 6900 XT goes blow for blow with the 3090 and happens to be $1,000 less right now because the 3090s are selling for upwards of $3,000. I got a deal on a 6900 XT for only $1,770.
Oh my gosh, that hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was easily the most expensive piece of computer hardware I've ever purchased.
I don't even think back in the day when like Titans first came out that they were that much. Yeah.
The only Titan that's ever been more than that, I believe, is the Titan Volta, which is also a card that I was looking for. Because the Titan Volta would have been also kind of fun to build into there, but it also doesn't quite hold up to the 6900 XT or 3090, and it. I know the 6900 XT doesn't have as good of ray tracing, although I don't do a lot of ray tracing.
Not many games have it anyway. So.
But I've also got a 2070 over here on this gaming rig that if I need to play a ray trace game, I can play it over here. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a build coming up with either 2 or 4 terabytes of Gen 4 NVMe storage. I haven't decided which yet. 128 gigs of 3600 megahertz memory. Yeah.
Tasty.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
5950X, 6900 XT, fully water cooled. Yeah.
Now you're I think you said you're going to hardline the water cooling, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't give anything more away than that.
Okay. I'm not going to say. I think I remember you mentioning that.
Oh God, she's right behind me.
I think that's why your daughter came in earlier. Your wife sent her down to spy on you.
Right, exactly.
Little birds.
What did Daddy spend money on now? Right. Most other wives go, or she's talking to most other wives, and they're like, "Yeah, he went and spent money on this," and my wife's going, "God, I wish it was hookers and blow."
I could deal with that.
Yeah, I could deal with that. Exactly. All right, let's move on here. This one's got the heartstrings tugging just a little bit.
A little bit.
So back in the can I call it the early days of the internet? Not really.
I wouldn't say we're closer. We're getting close.
We're closer to modern from the formation of this website to the formation of the internet is closer to the formation of this website to modern times.
Yes.
By a significant margin.
Yes.
So I think we can say one of the founding internet sites. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least one of the founding internet companies.
Right. The companies. I don't know when this particular subsite
2005
started.
Is when this subsite started.
Okay.
So it was announced today. Today it was announced that Yahoo Answers is no more. For realsies this time.
Yeah.
They've threatened it a couple of times that they're going to be shutting down, and I believe they've actually shut down and then come back to life once, and then now they're saying April 20th will be the last time a question can be asked on the website. So, where else are you going to go for obscure questions like, is an egg a fruit or a vegetable?
Or of course the famous "How is Babby formed?"
How is Babby formed? Yeah.
Yeah. How is Babby formed?
How get girl pregnant? Pregnant. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some really good ones.
Yeah. What percentage of water is celery?
Yeah.
Water is exactly 0% celery. If Batman's parents are died, then how was he born? Was Abraham Lincoln really a vampire slayer?
Oh yeah, that was a very
This is need to know information.
This is yeah. Like, what is a phobia of chainsaws called? Common sense.
Do you think NASA invented thunderstorms to cover up the sound of space battles?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
These are no-brainer answers.
And there's like 7 that I've already skipped over because I can't say them on this stream.
Yeah.
But believe me, they're good.
They're good, yes. So it's been the good source of memes and jokes and just hilarious questions for years. People have made memes and animations around them and all kinds of stuff like that. But it's going away.
Yep, going away. Is cocaine considered vegan?
I think yes, actually. If it's pure. If it's pure.
It might depend on who your dealer is.
Yeah.
You know, I know they cut it with baby laxative. Who knows what's in that?
Babies, obviously.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. You know, if you eat babies, it gives you the runs.
You're supposed to put them in the blender first, John. Or Steve.
A baby smoothie.
Baby smoothie.
Yeah. Don't give Johnny any more beer ideas.
All of a sudden, I've got like a million dead baby jokes going through my head.
Oh, God.
Remember those? Also in 2005?
How did Babby?
Dead Babby.
how is dead Babby?
Yep. Big Spoon, $2 donation. Game over. Indeed.
Yeah, too bad.
Just ask Jeeves from now on?
Yeah. Well, I think there's still Quora, which is like really popular.
Yeah, there's still Quora.
I think Quora. I mean, I don't go on there that much, but I think they monitor theirs.
There's still Cleverbot. If you wanted to like live chat and ask the questions, but I'm not sure you'd get as good of answers as you're hoping for.
No. Just Ask Jeeves. Yeah, I think Ask Jeeves is gone too, isn't it?
It might still be around.
It's ask.com now.
Yeah, it turned into ask.com.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. Wow.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I was always an Alta Vista guy.
I was too. I was before
Alta Vista
Google came along. I was
Alta
Vista, yeah. Yep. Alta Vista was great.
That was my my search engine of choice.
For the early days before search engines came out.
When I was on Net Zero.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh God, I remember Net Zero. Free internet. Yeah, just
That's how I got by.
Got to deal with them ads, though.
Yep, just sign up for a new account every 6 days when you've blown through your data cap.
Yep, that's right. Just get another one. Who cares? It's free.
Yep. All right. So this is an upcoming rumor for not even the next generation of AMD processors, but the next generation of AMD processors. Yep. We're talking about the 7000 series. It is rumored that every single Ryzen 7000 processor will get integrated graphics.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. I've said this in like server buying guides and things like that. It's really hard to overstate how important integrated graphics can be when dealing with certain hardware failures or dealing with certain diagnostics, even just as an extra utility. It's there, it's usable, and whatnot. Like, I have multiple servers that have no video output on board, and it is a freaking nightmare in some circumstances trying to do things on those servers. I run a good chunk of my home lab headless. Now, I also run a good chunk of them with like dedicated video cards in, so I can see them on the KVM when I need to do things.
Yes.
But, like my cloud gaming rig, going back and forth between VMware and Proxmox and XCP-NG and whatnot. I am so thankful that Threadripper box has dedicated video output because I'm taking up every single PCI Express slot with other cards. and I can't properly diagnose the system if I have one of those cards outputting video and I'm not, allocating all of the SRIOV space properly. Right. There's a lot that goes into those kind of projects, and so I'm glad to see AMD addressing this.
I mean, it is just a rumor.
It is just a rumor.
It would be great if this was true. Because you're right. There's tons of situations where an onboard graphics card would be extremely helpful for the exact cases that you stated. Troubleshooting, or all your hardware slots are gone and you're turning it into a server or whatever. Yeah, it's perfect.
Big Big's been $5 donation. 293 people watching. It's actually 296 right now. And 60 likes. Go like this video, dang it.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's
we peaked at 307.
It's probably me.
It's probably you.
They don't like me.
I can't like it myself. I'm not on the right page. And I'm not John.
Oh wait, I think I might have it up. I can like it.
Yeah.
There we go. Now 66.
Drop it a like, dang it.
I like myself.
Yeah. All right. In somewhat more current rumors about AMD is Threadripper 5000 series may launch in August.
Threadripper 5000.
Threadripper. So this would be based on presumably Milan, so the AMD EPYC 3rd gen based system, and we've already kind of gotten a glimpse of what to expect based on the Milan CPUs that we've seen come out. But Threadripper has always been AMD doesn't need to make Threadripper, but they kind of want to make Threadripper.
It's one of their fun side projects.
I feel Threadripper is kind of a fun side project.
It's what they do on the weekend when they got nothing else to do.
Right.
The lawn's been mowed. Yeah, let's go make Threadripper.
Right. So Threadripper Next Gen will be codenamed Chagall. Chagall.
Is that a reference to like Lord of the Rings, or what is that?
I have no idea, but Chagall. Chagall.
There's a Mark Chagall, who was a French-Russian artist.
Yeah. Huh? No idea. But yeah, that's really all we know. We don't have specs. We don't have much else. We can speculate on the core counts because, again, we know what EPYC Milan dropped with as far as core counts goes.
Right.
We've got everything from 8 to 64 cores. We knew we were likely not going to see a core count increase because the chiplet design in this current generation seems to top out at 8 cores per chiplet. So 8 chiplets on a die kind of makes sense for 64 cores. Yeah. Hey, we're up to 109 likes. The system works.
There we go. If we beg for likes, we get them.
Yeah, exactly. Please like. But yeah, so that's really all the information we have at this point. We're still assuming it's going to be on DDR4, although late 2021, we might start seeing some DDR5 compatibility.
That's right.
It's very possible that we could see a new I/O die with a new memory controller on it that could have DDR5. Do not quote me on that. That is pure speculation on my part.
Complete rumor at that point.
In fact, I would, if I were a betting man, I would bet money on another generation of DDR4 for both Threadripper 5000 and Zen 6000. I don't think DDR5 is coming in any measurable capacity until probably late 2022.
I think we talked about that last time I was on too. We were talking about the DDR5. How many was it the time before? But yeah, I think you even said that back then.
Yeah.
That you predict commercially it'll be available 2022.
Shame, if you can't afford EPYC, just go 5950X. I bought a 5950X. That's my next build, is a 5950X based system. And it's replacing a Threadripper based system. Mainly because Threadripper changed sockets on me. They didn't do the whole backwards compatibility thing to X399. They had to go to, gosh, what is the TRX 40 based chipset, or TRX 80 if you want Threadripper Pro, which they're great boards. I can't knock them, but I also wasn't going to go out and drop another $700 on a motherboard.
Yeah.
To literally make a lateral single core improvement jump. I'd much rather spend $300 on an X570 board and buy a 5950X. So that's what I did.
Yeah, makes sense.
Plus, my memory speed's going from like 2933 to 3600. I'm also going from 64 dual rank to 128 gig dual rank.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an insignificant upgrade.
It's a pretty big beefy jump.
Yep. Let's see. Alan, $20 Canadian rupees. Ryzen 5 3600, 32 gigs of RAM, DDR4 3200, Corsair H100i, Capella X Elite 240 with 4 LL120 fans. I like the Light Loop 120s. GTX 1660 Super, playing City Skylines. Is 63C package temp too high when my apartment is 29C? Definitely not. No, definitely not.
Six. Yes, that's not too bad.
Honestly, even in my 24, 25C room, depending on the cooler, it's not unusual to see the 3600 jump up into the low 60s. I believe the thermal headroom for that one is 85C, so you're still more than 20 degrees shy of any kind of throttling or longevity worry. So that's what I would say. Yeah, I think you're golden.
Yeah.
I think you're golden. All right. And one more AMD news thing, and then I can pour my second beer, because...
Oh, yeah, I got to polish mine out. Well, mine's almost gone anyway, so...
So, one more AMD thing, and that is a Spectre-like vulnerability has been discovered in AMD Zen 3 processors.
Mm-hmm.
So much like the speculative execution that bit Intel in the butt with Spectre, Meltdown, and the 30 other speculative execution exploits that came in the time being. This is called predictive store forwarding. And it works a lot like speculative execution did on Intel's side of things. That is, a command is sent to the CPU. The cores all start working on it at once. But if a core is waiting on a result from another core and the other core hasn't finished yet, it will make an educated guess on what that core should come up with, and it will start doing other calculations after that. If it's wrong, it'll stop and it'll redo that calculation. If it's correct, it saves a lot of time and they can just move on.
Right.
That is the explain like I'm 5 how speculative execution works. Anyway, PSF has been integrated into Zen 3 processors when they launched in November 2020. And much like Intel speculative execution, works a lot the same way. Now, AMD disclosed that PSF may be vulnerable to side channel attacks, much like what led to Spectre, Meltdown, Zombie Load, etc. For Intel. They have not to this point seen any real-life, in-world examples of this attack being used yet. Right. This is a disclosure being made before there is a fix and before they even know that it's actually a problem.
Yeah.
But according to AMD and the security researchers who were behind this, it's not overly difficult from you're more than just a script kiddie standpoint to make this work in practice. So AMD is recommending to disable PSF. I want to say PFSense right there.
Yeah.
PSF. PSF in some scenarios. In particular, they're saying they want you to disable PSF if you are trying to sandbox a piece of software entirely from the rest of your environment. So if you do not want information leaking from one virtual machine to another, or if you are running inside of some kind of a sandbox environment, they recommend disabling PSF until they can come up with a fix. So, AMD also says if they can disable PSF entirely, chipmaker has provided instructions on how it can disable PSF in Zen 3 architecture. There will be a slight performance hit depending on what instructions you're running and depending on what workflow you'd use, but this shouldn't be a major issue for most people. But it's I'm not going to necessarily call this one a black eye because, well, Intel knew for a year before they let third parties disclose Spectre and Meltdown.
They seem to be getting ahead of the situation here.
Right. This is the proper way to do it. This is as soon as we know about it, and as soon as we know exactly what the execution is, we're going to disclose what the vulnerability is, make recommendations for customers to make their own remediation based on the information that we have and that we can give them. And then we will develop a fix, hopefully before this actually becomes a problem.
I'm sure they wouldn't release this kind of information until they have either something in the works or something very close to being completed.
Correct.
Probably in QA or something like that right now.
Right.
So it's probably really close.
Right, and a lot of times these exploit notifications are done on like a 6-month rolling clock, where the white hats will contact AMD and say, "Hey, we found this potential side channel vulnerability. We're going to let you know everything that we know. Here's all of our research, but we are disclosing this vulnerability in 6 months' time. If you would like to disclose it before that and save some face, we'd recommend it."
Yeah.
And so that's usually what happens in instances like this. So likely AMD was actually told sometime back in October or November, very shortly after Zen 3 launched, when security researchers first got their hands on these CPUs. And so we're coming up on that magic 6 month they've been on the market mark.
Yep.
That's my assessment of that, is that they likely were told about this immediately after launch or even possibly slightly before it. But because they haven't seen this in the wild yet, they have not seen one instance of this being exploited yet, they decided not to divulge that information until now, which honestly is perfectly fine. You do not want to divulge the information too early and let people develop
figure stuff out, and they get the exploit, and then you start seeing the exploit in the wild.
Right.
And you don't want that.
Yeah, you want to cut the head off the snake before you know there's a snake there.
Yeah. Gotta get the snake trap out, because you know there's snakes out there.
All right, Steve, what do you got for your second beer?
My next beer is from a brewery I have not actually heard of. They're called Bearded Iris, and they're from Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, to be sure.
We've been over this before, but tell the rest of the people what we're...
Right. So it's a hazy IPA called Homestyle, and it is a soft, juicy mosaic. A very, very minimalist can from a brewery called Bearded Iris. But it gets pretty high ratings on Untapped, so I'm gonna look forward to trying this one out.
Nice.
Mosaic is like one of my favorite hops, so should be good.
Yep. Now, unfortunately, the surprise was kind of ruined, but it was really funny leading up to me disclosing to Steve what my second beer was. Because I told him, I've only got 2 beers tonight, but one of them you're going to be mad at. And he goes, "Well, what do you have? Like some bourbon barrel-aged foil wrapper, like barley wine thing? Like you have Mother of All Storms, don't you?" I said, "No, but you're dang close." What I do have is Ecliptic's bourbon barrel-aged Orange Giant. This is a bourbon barrel-aged barley wine that clocks in at 15%.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a slow sipper for you.
15.0, and this is not a 12-ounce bottle. This is a 16.9. It's a 500 ml.
So towards the end, we should start getting some hiccups from Jeff.
Yep.
If you join the after party, he'll definitely be hiccuping, I'm sure.
Well, the hazy's already kind of built it up. I can feel it here now.
Oh, yeah. It's coming.
Yeah. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah. So, of course, got my proper glass here.
Yeah.
That Rambo decided to rub up against before the show started, so the side of it's covered in hair.
Yeah, it's like cat.
Thank you, Ram.
Hurt anybody?
I appreciate that. I appreciate you, buddy. You magnificent bastard.
Oh, this one's actually quite good. Not super, not like a giant hot bomb.
Steve?
Actually, pretty malt forward. Oh, yes, I know. Hey, I know. I looked it up, though. I did. I love barley wines. If for the people who are out there.
Oh, my God. Ooh. Yes.
I'm sure it's delicious.
Jeff will be under the table later. I might just go under the table now.
Yeah.
Get it over with. Oh, man.
No, there's several people saying they had my beer in Nashville, and it is good. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's not super hoppy. It's kind of got good sweet malt to it. Love it.
Boy, that is all of 15%.
I bet you it's pretty boozy, eh?
It's very boozy.
Yeah.
So usually when you get beers that are up this high in ABV, they go one of two directions, and there is no middle ground. It's not like it's kind of boozy.
Yeah.
There are beers that's like you take a sip and you go, "Oh, that is dangerous." Ooh. It's smooth. Yeah. It drinks like it's 7%, 14.3.
Yeah.
Right. Then you have this camp where you take a sip of it and you go, "Boy, that burns," but it burns in a really good way.
That's like almost schnapps level. You got some beer schnapps right there.
Yeah. Yeah, another 4%, and I'd be buying this in a different store.
Oh yeah, that's right, exactly. So you're saying we're opening Big Fun barley wines tonight?
Oh,
not me, not me. I don't want to pass out.
15 to the moon.
Yeah. I know, yeah.
$5, big spoon. Solve the hiccups live. I do have a cure for my hiccups, but it's actually to lay flat on my back on the floor.
Yeah.
And that will get rid of my hiccups.
Adjust the camera. It's all about perspective, man.
Right. Not sure that angle will really work here, but wouldn't be the first time I've fallen asleep on the floor here.
Yeah. Falling asleep or passed out? It's debatable.
Yeah. I have not fallen asleep on this floor in my office.
Yeah.
On this floor. In fact, the last time I passed out in what was my office was long before I did craft computing. It was about 2 or 3 years before. Mm-hmm. Where I had nothing to do. I had no kids. Actually, it was years before, actually. I either had no kids or Miss was less than 1. Like it was very early on. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I got all evening / out. Like it's 5 o'clock. I've already had dinner with my wife. We're kind of like done for the day and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm gonna go up to my room and like play games for a while. It's like cool. Yeah. And she was working on some sewing stuff, so it's like we just kind of went our separate ways and got the evening to yourself. Fired up some games and I'm playing. God, I want to say like Far Cry 4 or something.
Okay, yeah.
Like put it in time context. I'm just jamming. It might have even been Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. So I'm just jamming on that thing, and I've got some Jameson Black Label sitting next to me, and I'm just kind of sipping on that.
Thing down.
I'm not shooting it, but I'm pouring myself some pretty good, 2-3 fingers at a time. And
a couple hours later, though, it's gonna hit you.
A couple hours later, my wife comes in and, hey Jeff, I'm going to bed. And I went, okay, cool. Well, I'm not quite done here, so I'm just gonna keep on. Okay, keep on going. You're cool. She found me at like midnight, laying on my back. In the middle of the floor, which it was a fairly large room.
Yeah.
And I had thrown up into a mesh trash can.
So kind of filtered out a little bit of the stuff, but not all of it.
Got the chunks taken care of.
Yeah, the chunks.
Not much else.
Yeah, no.
She opened the door and she goes, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Yeah." And so she closed the door.
Yeah, that's it.
You're not dead, right? Cool. Yeah. See you in the morning.
Yeah. I'm sure she can smell that you were not okay, but you were talking, so then that's at least you're breathing.
Yep. Yeah. I do not get like that, but once every 5 years.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time that happened.
Yep. Jeff, plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
Well, it's too late.
I'm just gonna say it was before I had kids, and there were other responsible adults in the house.
Yeah,
at least one.
So yeah, it wouldn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's my turn to get blackout drunk. No, it's my turn to get blackout drunk.
Pumpy sends over 1,000. Cheers from Costa Rica. Pura Vida. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. Costa Rican cologne, I guess is what you call them. CRC.
Oh, CRC.
So 1,000 of your local currency. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Smart wife. Yes. No. My wife is wonderful. She accepts me for what I am. and allows me to do this. This was I shot my first video for craft computing when Little Bit was 5 weeks old.
Yeah.
And I had been working on putting together what I wanted for a YouTube channel since March of that year. So since March of 2017, I registered the name, and then I started thinking about what style I wanted and what I wanted to do and what angle I wanted to take on things and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And July 10th, I published my first video. My daughter was born June 2nd. And so 5 weeks later, I'm like, I'm going to be like editing video in the basement, honey. Bye. Yeah. She allowed me to do that. And now I do this. It's great.
Hey, that works out good.
Yep.
It all worked out in the end. All right.
I don't know if I'm going to sip this. This is too dang good now.
Yeah.
Wow. This might be a very quick second half of this show.
We're gonna have to, maybe cut it off when you start slurring, huh?
Yeah.
And you couldn't get all 22 ounces in that glass, right?
It's not 22. It's 16.9.
Oh, it's 16.9. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And this glass was about 14, and so I had to drink it down a little bit. This now has all of it in it.
Okay, there we
go. So I got a free refill.
One-stop shop.
Yeah. I'm doing the Coca-Cola sip stealing, where I go to Taco Bell and fill your drink and then
take a couple sips and then fill it back up again.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can move along here. Microsoft has announced that they are trying yet another cooling solution for data centers.
That's right.
This one might be very familiar to you if you are a fan of Der Bauer, as they are thinking outside the box with a fluorocarbon-based liquid that we know as Novec.
Yep.
So here in the GIF, you can see a boiling liquid underneath some servers. And Microsoft claims it is, quote, the first cloud provider that is running two-phase immersion cooling in a production environment. Yep. They're actually running this in a data center right now.
It's a small data center, but it is right. Live. It is live, and it's running right now.
It's live, and it's hosting critical services.
Mm-hmm.
So, fluid reaches boiling point at 50 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and then condenses by raining back in. They put a top cover on it.
Right.
It boils off, condenses on the top, and rains back in,
back
where
down.
it reboils and.
Yeah. And it keeps itself cold. No need for a pump, so there's no electricity for a pump. There's no need for AC, so you don't have power from air conditioning or anything like that. So kind of a self-sustaining little enclosed unit.
And best of all, no power consumption for this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, except for the servers itself, but
right.
I mean, there's no pumps or fans or anything.
There's no
going
pumps.
like that.
There's no fans. There's no HVAC. There's none of that. This is just pour liquid into the servers, cap off your data center, and let it recondense back into the data center or back into your server stack. It's a pretty cool concept. And,
if this becomes popular, people won't be buying server racks anymore. They'll be buying old bathtubs.
Yeah, they'll be buying pools and bathtubs and
You go to Walmart, get the plastic inflatable bathtub. Yep. Fill that up.
I think my wife would frown if I turned this into a 1-bath, 2-half-bath house.
Sorry, kids, you can't use the bathtub for a while.
Right.
I got my server rack in there.
Right. Close the door. It needs to condense.
Yeah, that's right.
You're letting the coolant out.
You put a little umbrella over it so it condenses at the top, drips back down.
Yeah. Maintenance for that is going to suck. I will say it sucks a lot less than the data center they put at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, you just throw some chlorine tablets in there. It's fine.
Right.
It'll clear it out. Clears it right out.
Steve, would you like a quick chemistry lesson?
A quick chemistry lesson? Sure.
For chlorine and exposed stainless steel, iron, aluminum, copper?
Yeah, I think it would not be good. No, I know. I was joking, obviously.
Just make sure.
Yeah.
That's that Futurama video where Nibbler drinks all the pool water and burps it out, and they're like, chlorine gas, and everyone passes out.
Asleep. Yeah,
and Bender goes, ha ha ha, chlorine. Oh, right. And then Russ.
Russ out, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. In other news, Nvidia has officially brought RTX voice to, well, not RTX cards.
Yep. Just about everything else.
So much for the RTX part.
Yep.
Now, some people are going to be on this about they're trying to use RTX to sell RTX cards. To which I will say, probably. There's a second part of me, though, that says the better an algorithm gets, the lower power you need to run it. And while the original algorithms that came out probably utilized the RT cores quite a bit because NVIDIA was looking for another place to be able to utilize hardware that would otherwise sit dormant on your brand new graphics cards. And how can we help people along? Hey, everyone is Zoom meeting right now. Why don't, anyone who has a Zoom meeting, they can filter out all the background crap and just hear the voice. Would that be, good enough? Well, cool. Let's develop an algorithm for that. Send it out to RT cards. Make sure they're powerful enough to run it. Cool. They are. And then it was revealed that you could run it on GTX, but at like 30% load instead of 2% load, which, yes, because GTX doesn't have the RT core, so they have to brute force it, which they're still able to do, but not nearly as efficiently. Fast forward to today, it's kind of the same story where they said, you know what, the overhead for running RTX voice on a non-RT card via non-RT cores is still worth the trade-off of being able to have a conversation over broadcast internet without the background noise. And so I actually kind of commend NVIDIA for making this available on non-RTX cards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people had figured out how to do it regardless of their official release, because I think there's people who figured out how to hack it and get it to work on their non-RTX cards. But this is the official one. This is like NVIDIA going, yep, we endorse it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Now, I think didn't they move on to broadcast, though? Doesn't broadcast have the RTX voice technology in it now? I don't know if they're packaged together. If
broadcast? Yeah, broadcast is the packaged application that has RTX voice, RTX background removal, and a couple other things.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah. Oh, yeah. But no, it's good. Although, most of the time, I don't think I have anybody complain about my microphone picking up background noises.
No, and depending on your mic setup, you wouldn't. But if you were on just a standard laptop microphone, it's a problem.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a huge
problem. As someone who had to have meetings with 40 people in them via 38 laptops, and then my setup, and then another guy who also happened to have a decent webcam and a headset, that was a nightmare.
Oh yeah. I've had, because I work with a lot of people.
They also weren't the kind of people who would buy NVIDIA graphics cards to be able to run NVIDIA voice.
Yes, that's true too. Like a lot of times I'll have meetings. I work with a lot of people in India, and because of the time change, it'll either be I have the meetings late at night and it's their early morning, or I have it early in the morning, it's late in the evening.
Right.
Either way, they usually take their meetings from home, and it being in Bangalore, it's a really heavily populated area. Yeah. And so whenever they turn on the microphone on the laptop, you could just hear the outside traffic. You can hear all kinds of things. And it's just like, can you please mute that?
Right.
It's a little annoying. Now, they're working on their laptop, so I don't think they're going to have RTX voice installed on that too. But something like that, some noise canceling would really, really, really help.
Right. Yeah. So I've used RTX voice on this channel from time to time. I don't use it every single show, but I do share a wall with the laundry room.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's on.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So, but it's been a great piece of software. I've really enjoyed being able to use RTX voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, I commend Nvidia for making it available for non-RT cards, even though there is a performance hit, even though it doesn't run as well as it would run with an RT card, they're still giving you the option.
Yes.
And anytime a company takes away a paywall, which, by the way, the software is free.
Yeah, it comes with a driver.
Right. Anytime a company takes away a paywall and says, here's a piece of software that won't run quite as well as it will on our newest hardware, but it will still run and will still benefit you in every single way that it benefits the new people, that's commendable. So bravo, Nvidia. Thank you for making that good decision. And screw the haters that say, well, it's not using the RT cores anymore. We know.
Yeah.
That's why it's able to run on the GTX cards, but it still runs better on the RT cards.
On the RT cards, yeah. You'll take a less performance hit.
Right. So, yeah. Anyway, moving right along.
Moving to the next one.
What is the next one?
This one's a good one.
There we go. Oh, right.
I like this one.
Right.
Yeah, we talked
Why don't you take the reins on this one, Steve?
Yes. So
this
one,
is more your realm.
So this is something every year a company called I think it's an acronym, Tobii, TIOBE, the software quality company. They put out a list of the most used development languages that are out there. And of course, the top ones are always the usual suspects. We got C, C++, C#, Python, all those type of things.
.NET 4.
.NET is a framework.
Framework,
but
right.
anyway. Yeah. But this year, something surprising showed up, and it is
showed up.
Showed up. I should say showed up. What we thought was extinct is what is old is new again. We have Fortran, which has come back as the top 20 most popular programming languages from last year.
Yes. Fortran made the top 20 list of programming languages used worldwide.
For some reason.
According to TIOBE.
Yeah.
So to put this in perspective, Fortran was developed in the 1950s by IBM. Yep.
Yes.
It is just this side of COBOL from being... or rather, COBOL is just this side of Fortran from being like, who has even ever heard of this? I know of Fortran. I know of COBOL. Fortran started with what is appropriately the tagged image of this, which is a reader card.
Yeah. I remember that because my dad, he was a developer back in the day too, and he used punch cards. That's where when he's first programming. Yeah, he used a punch cards. Yeah. So I remember growing up as a kid, punch cards had become defunct at the time, but there was punch cards. There's boxes and boxes of punch cards at our house.
Yeah,
because he kept them. I guess that's his backup. You say that the RAID isn't a backup. Well, for him, shoe boxes were a backup because he just kept all those cards in there. But yeah, we had tons of those punch cards.
Well, a backup is just putting one punch card on top of the other, knocking out the holes that are already in it, and then putting it in a different shoebox.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we duplicate right there. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's a backup. But yeah, no, it was very interesting. I think they did say that it was because of what was it? Are they speculated because of they want to do some number crunching? I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, they said towards the bottom of the article, which it's not a very long article.
No.
Fortran was the first, or sorry, where's that note that I saw? Fortran was the first commercial programming language ever and is gaining popularity thanks to the massive need for scientific number crunching.
So I guess it does better scientific number crunching than say C or C++, which
I can't fathom that it would.
I can't fathom that it would. I mean, maybe there's a better precision with Fortran. I don't know if there's data type variables that are higher than what C and C++
It's an 8-bit language.
I think it might be higher than that. Well, it could be 8-bit language, but you can slap bits together.
Right, you can slap bits together, but can you tell me there's nothing more efficient than that?
It's not just an 8-bit because they did do. I know that they did at least a 16-bit version of Fortran.
Okay. Okay.
I know that they did a 16-bit version of Fortran.
I just know it originated as an 8-bit language.
Yes, no, it definitely did. But I know that they increased it. I don't know if they ever did a 32-bit version. But regardless, number crunching. It seems that
out of the Microsoft playbook, let's leave 16-bit Windows execution code inside of Windows 10.
Right, of course. Is there still 16-bit execution code in Windows 10? I've tried to run some. Well, not in maybe in a 30.
If you try to run
32-bit Windows 10.
If you try to run generic executables that are 16-bit, they will not run. You get an error that says will not run on an x64 system. If you run them on a 32-bit system, they will still run.
Yes, they will still run.
Because 16-bit is still part of the compatibility engine inside of 32. However, there are 16-bit executables and 16-bit databases that are still running within Windows 10. And they are part of the original Windows 2.0 code.
In the 64-bit version of Windows?
In the 64-bit version.
I don't know. It's even possible. Maybe it's just sitting there. I don't know.
It's sitting there because some program references it, and that's the way it is, kind of thing. You could, as of Windows 7, you could still open Program Manager, and it's still installed by default in Windows.
Yeah.
On the CD, you put a Windows 7 CD in, the default shell now is Explorer, but you could replace the default shell with Program Manager.
Progman, yeah, I still remember Progman.
Right. That still existed in Windows 7 and executed on 64-bit machines with Windows 7. So yes, there is still 16-bit code in use by Windows 10.
If it wasn't for the short name limitation on Progman, I kind of like Progman a little bit more. It says Fortran can be compiled in 64-bit, so there we go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I know that either. I had a copy of Fortran. I think I still might have it in a box upstairs somewhere, but I never developed in it, never installed it, never used it.
Yep.
Yeah, assembly is
start
faster.
Brushing up. It's coming back, baby.
Apparently, though, because the funniest somebody should mention assembly, because assembly also made the list. It is actually number 8.
Yeah.
Of the top.
Yeah. Straight up assembly programming is number 8.
Yeah.
As well as what were the others that made the list? Visual Basic and Classic Visual Basic.
Classic Visual Basic. And Delphi.
Oh.
Which
right.
Yeah, that was an old one too. So all these old languages are coming back. I don't know if people are getting nostalgic for old crappy languages. I don't know.
What's funny is in 1988, if you knew COBOL, you could define what your paycheck would be. Both because you're the programmer for the HR database and because you were valuable to the company, and so they'd pay you whatever you wanted.
Right.
And then the dot-com bomb happened, and all the COBOL workers were out of work. But now all the companies that didn't upgrade from their old COBOL databases are hiring COBOL programmers for whatever amount they want to work for.
Yeah. Yeah,
so you can again write your own paycheck.
I remember back in '99 when they were trying to, stop any bug fixes from the Y2K bug. There's a big push for Fortran and COBOL programmers, like a ton.
Yep.
So Fortran does better matrix and vector type.
Yeah, see, I remember looking for jobs in 2004, 5, 6, and looking for Fortran or COBOL programmers who would be willing to, or who were skilled in reverse engineering, because people were looking to get off of COBOL and Fortran and move on to more modern languages.
Yeah. And they had the code, but it was not documented or anything like that.
No documentation, no nothing.
Right.
It's like, we need the program to do this exact thing, but we have no idea how the original guy did it. And he died 7 years ago.
Yeah.
There were those kind of advertisements up at that time. COVID-19 models used Fortran. That was my guess as to why Fortran was coming back. I didn't want to outright say it, but Steve and I talked about it just before the show about because of the computational because Fortran excels at computational type stuff, scientific number crunching. If possibly decoding the COVID-19 genome was part of that.
Could be.
Because remember the Folding at Home project donated much of its server time to COVID-19 decoding. Is the base of that based in Fortran? Is, are there aspects of Fortran that are being used in everyday life that we don't know about?
Could be. I mean, I know there's a lot of old systems out there that, the back end systems probably still use some Fortran. It could very well be. Yeah.
This beer is not getting any worse. Fortran sharp.
Yeah, Fortran sharp. Yes.
Yeah. How's yours holding up?
Pretty good. Okay, so this is a hazy, but it's not like a big hop bomb.
Yeah.
So you don't get that, coating of all the hop oils or lupulins and stuff like that. So it's staying pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good deal. Okay. We do have a couple beer stories, and I kind of want to rapid fire these because we only have about 25 minutes left.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. First off, Utah has announced they have a state beer.
Ooh. State beer. How come Oregon doesn't have a state beer?
Yep.
We should. It should be Dead Guy.
Yep.
Or Deschutes
Black Butte Porter?
Black Butte Porter.
Yeah. There you go. If I had to call a state beer, I don't know that I would go for the most recognized beer in Oregon. I think I would go for the beer that Oregon is probably most known for. And so I might go with like a Rogue 10 hop.
You think that's what it's most known for?
The Northwest in general is known for IPAs. And
yes,
so the state beer can't be a porter. Like, let's be real for a second.
That's true. Yeah.
Where we have a lot of great dark beers. We've got Oakshire down in Eugene. We've got Deschutes over in Bend. And we've got a number of other. Oregon is known for hops. And hops and hops alone.
Well, then how about Ninkasi's Tricera hops?
Tricera hops would be a great one.
That would be a good one, yeah.
I'd say Dawn of the Red, but I think that's going a little too obscure.
Yeah.
You could even go like maybe... No, I don't know that as many people know. Like the Cryo Stash, Hop Stash, Bubbly Hop, the... who makes
Hop Valley?
Is that Hop Valley? Thank you.
Yeah,
Hop Valley makes a lot of those. But if I had to think of like one of the biggest beer makers in Oregon, I would think of Rogue, Deschutes, Widmer, Ninkasi, and a couple others. And so like, let's pick one from one of them. And when I think of like one of the best trademark IPAs,
big hop bomb type of a
I'm
thing.
thinking big hop bomb. I'm thinking Rogue 10 hop.
10 hop would be probably but I don't know if they distribute that one nationally.
Right. But they do have 6 hop that they distribute nationally.
They do.
And
they
so
have,
maybe
they
6
do have 6 hop. Yeah.
Right.
No, maybe.
So that's what I would go with.
Yeah, because like Deschutes has IPAs, but they're not as popular.
They're not nearly as popular. They're not nearly as good.
Yeah.
But you go to Rogue and they've got an entire line of IPAs that dominate most beer banquets.
Yeah. Fresh squeeze, but Deschutes is pretty good.
Fresh squeeze is pretty solid.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Like I said, Tricera hops, Dawn of the Red. Gosh, what else is from Ninkasi? They've got a bunch of good IPAs down there.
They do.
So yeah, those are recognizable, and I think those are in the conversation. But if you're talking, I want a hoppy IPA. I want a hoppy Oregon IPA.
Yeah.
I'm going 6 hop.
6 or 10 hop, I think that'd be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to pick anyone, and this is right because Deschutes is nationally distributed.
Right.
I would say I would be more like Boneyard's Hop Venom would be better because I think it tastes better, but I don't think it's not even distributed.
But Boneyard is very regional.
Yeah, it's very regional. So I wouldn't pick that one.
Yeah, myself. So you got to go Rogue, Deschutes, or Ninkasi or Widmer for national distribution. Yeah. And like I said, of those, I'm going Rogue with their IPAs.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Hops and Brews sponsored by Rogue.
Wishes.
I think Rogue didn't Rogue send. No, I think Stone sent.
Rogue sent me stuff.
Yeah, they said
I got stuff.
Yeah, but John got he got stuff from Stone though.
Yeah. I'm trying to branch out a little bit more with some of my beer collaborations. I'm trying to get people to start sending me beers just to review on the show.
Yeah.
Because I think that could be fun.
It would be.
Yeah.
You'd probably be more like with some local people doing it though.
Jim Nicholson says Sticky Hands. The problem is Block 15 is also very locally and regionally distributed.
Yeah.
Where
Sticky Hands is a very big hot bomb.
Sticky Hands, so good. So good. If any of you listening get a chance, and you are a hop fan, And by hop fan, I mean by saying hop fan, you don't question that fact.
Yeah. You have to love hops to love.
You have to love hops. Block 15 Sticky Hands is so good.
Yeah. It's very good. And it's not a hazy either.
No. It is a straight up dank IPA.
Yeah, very dank.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not a bad option, but like I said, if I wanted to say like a nationally distributed beer that Oregon could be known for.
Oh yeah.
Like if you wanted to go and like German beer, I think everyone here has had a Widmer Hef.
Yeah. But
that is the hef that you get when you order it at an airport, is a Widmer Hef.
Yes, but in my opinion, Widmer Hef is like the worst Hefeweizen I've ever had.
Yeah,
it's not a great. They even label it American Hefeweizen because it doesn't.
It's an American Hef, but if I'm at an airport and I'm looking at the tap menu and I see Bud Light, Coors,
I'm gonna get a Hef.
I'm probably gonna get a Widmer Hef.
Yeah. But if you get an authentic German Hefeweizen and you have a Widmer Hefeweizen, and you're like, how can these be called the same type of beer? Because they taste nothing alike.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a German style Americanized Hefeweizen.
It is, and that's why they call it American Hefeweizen.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, not to fault Widmer at all. I think it's a fairly good beer. I do like a good Widmer Hef.
I liked it for a long time, and then my tastes kind of progressed, and then I got a little jaded because they called it a Hefeweizen instead of just a straight up wheat beer.
Hold on, let's get into this. Tommy or Zorro, says, "Forgive my ignorance, but what is an IPA?" Oh, an IPA is an India Pale Ale. So back in the olden days when we had to carry things by wagon or stagecoach or train, the British troops who were stationed in India wanted UK-based beer, UK brewed beer. The problem is, by the time the caravans made it down to India, the beer had gone bad. Mm-hmm. And so what they did as a preservative was they put a literal crap ton of hops into the brew. And so they could brew it and it could survive that
trip.
2,500 mile journey.
Yeah.
And so before they had pale ales, which was a slightly hoppy beer, more of like a Pilsner based, what we know today, transitioned into the India Pale Ale, which was a very, very super hopped beer for the sake of preservation. Mm-hmm. And that style kind of stuck, and now we have the IPA.
Yeah. So yeah, basically the distinction between, in modern brewing practices anyway, between a pale ale and an India Pale Ale is a pale ale you'll put hops during the boil when you're boiling your mash, and then that's it. But for the IPA is you'll put hops in during the boil, but then afterwards when it's fermenting, you'll during your secondary fermentation, you'll throw more hops in there.
You'll back hop it.
Yeah, you'll dry hop it basically is what they call it.
Yep.
So you'll dump more hops in there. So even after the brew is done fermenting, it's going to be steeped in all these hops, and all these lupulins and oils will seep into the beer, and you'll get just a much bigger hoppy flavor.
So that's an IPA.
Yeah. Actually, there's a very similar story with Russian Imperial Stouts.
Yes.
Because the Tsar from Russia went and visited the British, and he loved the stouts over there. And so when he went back, he says, "I want you to ship it to me." But by the same thing. But by the time
they got there, they got there,
the stouts didn't taste as good. So they're like, "Well, let's just."
By the way, refrigeration trucks were not a thing.
They didn't have. So it's like, we'll crank up the alcohol volume. We'll make it an Imperial. We'll double it out.
Right.
And then we'll ship it over there
we'll make it 11% because the alcohol will kill everything. And so it'll survive the journey.
It'll survive the journey. And so they got it there, and it was like, it tasted like a stout, but it was like tons of alcohol.
Right. So by the way, back in the day, beers were somewhere between like 3 and 5%. They were not strong.
They were not like what we have yet.
They're not like what we have today. Like we laugh at domestics for being 4.5. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, that was a strong beer.
Yeah.
Now we think of a strong beer as like anything over 9.
Yeah.
And here I am drinking a 15.
Yeah, I think
wine wasn't this high a proof back in the day.
I think to be called a double or an imperial, I think it has to be over 7.8 or something like that. Yeah.
Essentially like 8%. But yeah, 7.8 I think is the exact metric.
Yeah. Anyway, we didn't even get back to that. We went way off track. We were way off track.
We were going quickly.
Yes. Yeah, I thought we were going quickly.
Utah has an official state beer, and Budweiser is making fun of the swears you can actually say in Utah. Yell it from the flippin' mountaintops. Budweiser is now the official beer of Utah, and they have a special edition bottle design that will only be sold in Utah, likely because it's 3.5% instead of 4.5%. Mm-hmm. I'm kidding. But only kind of.
Yeah. I think Utah might have done away with some of those liquor laws that they have with beer being only a certain percent. I'm not 100% sure on that.
No, they haven't.
Are they still that way?
They're still very much that way.
All right, whatever.
Yeah. Hold on.
So, of course, the lamest beer laws in the lamest state has the lamest beer.
Right, exactly. If you want a cocktail in Utah, it can only have 1 ounce of a poured spirit.
That's it, huh?
That's it. If you want an old-fashioned, those are the people who started putting 7-Up into an old-fashioned.
Those people.
Like, you can blame Utah for that crap.
Oh, God.
Because it would be 1 ounce of bourbon, first off, in an old-fashioned. Like, give me a rye old-fashioned. Utah goes, what?
Yeah, you want to talk about blasphemy.
Yeah. So yeah, they're the reason. It's either 1 or 1.25. Like it's an absurdly low amount when most cocktails require 2 to 2.5 of poured spirits. Mm-hmm. So
they probably still charge you like $6-7 a cocktail. Too.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Because the taxes in Utah are so dang high.
Yeah.
So advertisements placed throughout Salt Lake City adorned with the classic Utah phrases such as "Holy shiz," "Oh my heck," and "Frick yeah."
Yeah.
All of which I can say on this channel and not be demonetized.
YouTube friendly, at least.
YouTube friendly. Sure. Budweiser swear jars will also be available at certain stores where beer is sold.
Probably only in Utah, though.
Yeah. 3.2%. Frick yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Whoa there, Utah.
All right.
Calm down.
Whoa there. Calm down. Slow down there, Utah. All right. So
Utah, I think you've had enough.
It doesn't take much for Utah to have enough.
It doesn't.
All right. Moving along, since we got to move this along.
Moving along. CryoStash, Hop Valley, is giving away free beer for you being bitter.
Yes, that's right. So basically what the thing is we just talked about Hop Valley, actually.
Yeah.
Right? They are a Oregon brewery, but they are nationally distributed now. Mm-hmm. And so if you go to the website, I think it's Hop Valley, they have an IBUO meter. And what you do is you link it to your Twitter account, and it analyzes how bitter you are based on your posts. And if you are bitter enough, they will give you a basically a way to redeem for a free 12-pack of the Hop Valley Brewing variety pack, which I've had before, and they actually have some really good IPAs in there. So basically what you do is you go out and you buy your pack.
No, their IPA pack is something else.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Really, really good. So,
you go buy it. They give you a voucher, so you buy the pack, and then you turn it in as like a rebate type of a thing. That's basically what happens. And I think I did it today, and it said I was like 4 bitter. It's like it was really low.
Yeah.
And it still gave me a coupon, so I think it'll just give everybody a coupon regardless.
Hopefully.
So it doesn't really matter.
One thing that you will definitely need a coupon if you want to buy is a 1986 retail copy of Super Mario Brothers.
That's absolutely correct.
How's that for a transition?
There you go. Good one.
So a sealed copy of Super Mario Brothers was just sold at auction for, and I quote, $660,000.
That's huge.
Now, Mario Brothers at one point in time was the best-selling video game of all time.
So you would think it wouldn't be that rare, right?
You would think it wouldn't be that rare. There were 40 million... 40 million... There's the hiccups.
There's the hiccups, yep.
40 million copies of Super Mario Brothers sold. However, keep in mind, the majority of the copies of Super Mario Brothers sold were a package deal with Duck Hunt on the same cartridge that came included with your purchase of an NES.
Right.
Super Mario Brothers, the game, was also available by itself at retail. Mm-hmm. And the people who bought that cartridge, because, well, every NES, I think, ever came with a copy of Super Mario Brothers, was very, very low. So when this particular cartridge came up at auction, which, by the way, this is one of the earliest retail samples available, of the 11 different variants of Super Mario Brothers box art, I believe this was the second one ever issued, and this was circa 1986, which, if my memory serves, the Nintendo came out in the US in October of 85. Mm-hmm. So the Nintendo was not that old, and this game was still essentially brand new.
Right.
So this guy who wants to remain anonymous, and I do not blame him whatsoever, said, I bought the game at some store, I'm assuming Toys R Us or something like that, and put it in a desk drawer and just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
Like, whether he already owned Super Mario and didn't know that, or bought it as a gift and forgot about it. But years later, he discovered that he had an unopened copy of Super Mario Brothers, and he goes, oh, that's really cool. And left it unopened for years and years and years. It was a Christmas gift and sat unopened in a desk drawer for the better part of 4 decades. I never thought anything about it, end quote. The seller, who asked to remain anonymous, told the auction house. The reason this particular game sold for so much is the number of retail copies in box that sold at retail are significantly lower than the overall copies of Mario Brothers that sold, because they all sold as part of a package.
And it's unopened, which makes it even more
unopened.
Rare.
It is still in shrink wrap.
Mint, yes.
From 1986.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'd pay $660,000, but at the same time, from a collector standpoint and validated standpoint, I kind of understand. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. You could pay for everything in this house plus the house itself and still not come up with $660,000.
Yes.
You could even throw my vehicles into there. You're not scratching it. But from a historical standpoint, from a retail sample that was rated at a 9.6 by an independent third-party analysis, this is literally the most pristine version of Mario Brothers you'll ever see. And an early version of Mario Brothers at that.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't buy it.
Nope.
But I understand, is what I'm going to say.
I mean, obviously it meant something to somebody.
It meant something to someone.
It looks like from the picture that it's in a sealed container, so it's going to stay in pristine condition.
Yep.
So maybe it'll get put in a museum or something. I have no idea.
Probably in someone's personal collection. I'm blaming Ryan Reynolds for this crap.
Probably.
Yeah. Ryan, I want to know, Ryan Reynolds of Aviation Gin fame.
Yeah.
Did you buy this copy of Super Mario Brothers? If so, I want to open it with you.
Now, does this break the most expensive
video game purchase of all time?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Before there was the NES Tournament Cartridge.
Yeah, the NES Tournament cartridges have sold for well into the 6 figures before.
Yes.
I don't think they eclipsed the $600,000 mark. I think the most expensive one may have sold for $350 or $375. So we're talking about the NES Tournament cartridges, which were very, very rare.
Now the NES tournament ones were only going for 20,000.
20,000, really?
Yeah.
I would not have. I bet if you put it on market today, it'd be 300 plus.
It could be. This article's a little bit old.
Yeah, I bet they would go for 300 plus today.
Yeah, this one, this article is from, it's on Insider. It's from 2014, so it's probably a little old.
Real quick, Nintrance says RAID 6 versus RAID 10. RAID 6. Why? Because RAID 10, you're creating two different RAID 0 arrays and then mirroring them together, or you're creating two different RAID 1 arrays and striping them. Versus a RAID 6, any two drives can fail. You're not creating two arrays and then combining them into one. You're creating one array where the parity disk can float among all of the disks. So, RAID 6. If you have the option for RAID 6 over RAID 10, RAID 6. I don't care how many drives you have. RAID 6.
RAID 6. Yeah, so I think as far as price goes, this might be the highest.
The Nintendo PlayStation was the previous record. Magic says in comments. Yeah, and I thought that was close.
That was a console, though.
It was a console.
That was a whole console, not a game itself. This is a single game.
That was also $360,000.
Yes. So
apparently that was the record for a video game style or video game category.
Kind of vintage, yeah, any kind of vintage type of video game type thing.
Which, honestly, I'm surprised that wasn't inverted. Because you would think the video game with over 40 million copies, even though this is one of the most rare of the copies of that 40 million game, you'd think one collaboration between Nintendo and Sony hardware would rank first.
Yes, because it's a proprietary thing, and there's only one. There's probably only one, maybe two tops in the world.
Right.
More rare than this Mario Brothers cartridge.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It could be that, all the Mario Brothers, game cartridge boxes out there smashed and gone to bits, and like, hey, the cartridge still might exist, but the box is long gone. Shrink wrap's definitely in some landfill somewhere. So in its condition, it may be a one of a kind.
Yeah.
But that Nintendo PlayStation prototype is definitely a one of a kind, and you would think would be worth more.
You would think would fetch more than just over $350,000.
Right.
Like I expected that thing to go for 5 or 6 when it sold a year and a half ago. Yeah, let alone be beaten by almost double by a copy of one of the most prevalent games in history.
Yes. Kind of weird, but maybe because it was prevalent and its condition is rare, that combination just kind of spiked it up.
Yep. We got a $5 super chat from Robert. Thank you so much, Robert. I do appreciate it. Neat, a live stream. Been getting recommended your content recently. Probably going full home lab instead of Hyper-V once fiber becomes available to me. That is awesome, and you are definitely among friends here. Yeah, I do a lot of home lab content, a lot of Proxmox, a lot of virtualization, a lot of file server stuff, and I touch on the consumer end of hardware as well because, well, that tickles my fancy too. If you're interested in getting a little bit more up close and personal, think about joining the Patreon or Float Plane. Yes, I turned this into an ad. Thank you very much. That was a great segue.
Yeah.
Minimum donation of $1 per month gets you access to the exclusive Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all of the hosts from Talking Heads, and take part in the ever-growing community over there. And it is one heck of a good time, let me tell you.
I do enjoy it.
Yes. I like to pimp my Discord server mainly because it's unlike any Discord server I've ever been a part of before.
Most Discord servers I go on is pump and dump. You get on there, you like say hey, and then you're like, okay, whatever. But no, this one people actually stick around. People actually start chatting with you. People consistently and constantly active. Consistently, yes, exactly. There isn't a time I don't log on and there's new messages coming up.
24 hours a day, there's some conversation going on somewhere.
Yep.
And it's not just for PCs or home lab. We have chats for cars. We have chats for beer and food. We have chats for just crap posting, otherwise known as another 4-letter term. We have chats for buy and sell pages, either retail deals or things you want to sell yourself to the greater community. What else do we have in there? We have
We have
networking help. We have entertainment.
Gaming.
We have networking. We have TV. We have music.
Uh-huh.
Really anything that anyone who's ever watched a video of mine could ever be interested in, it's on that channel.
It's there. Yeah. Definitely a fun time will be had.
Yep. Just don't miss a day. Sometimes it's several hundred messages.
Oh yeah.
It's several hundred messages every day.
Yeah. That's the thing that kind of like I feel like
we
I miss
get
out
people
a lot.
calling out reposts.
Yes, I know. I get because like I'll be busy because I'm working, and then afterwards I have to be with my kid, and then I'm like, okay, I'll get on Discord and catch up with my messages. I'm just like, okay, I can't. It's like I'm gonna be reading this all night long if I just don't.
So there was a point in time a couple of years ago where I would read every single message that was ever sent to the Discord, and it's come to the point where if it happens when I'm asleep, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know. I will skim through it and look for maybe important things or something like that, but for the most part, it's hard to catch up.
But if you at one of us, you will get a personal response.
You will get a response if you at one of us.
Yes. We are very good about that. But it's not just myself who can answer questions over there. So think about joining. Minimum donation of $1 a month if you go the Patreon route. Minimum donation of $2 a month if you go float plane, because there are some extra costs incurred with that. But there's also some extra benefits of getting onto float plane where there are no built-in ads in my videos and completely ad-free if you watch the videos over on float plane. So plus there's also some exclusive content. You can sign up for premium content and see, I think the next video is going to be, what would my 12 bottle bar be? So if I were building a bar brand new, what 12 bottles would I go out and buy and make my bar with? That's the next video. Also, what equipment would I buy? What shaker, what strainer, what glassware, what jiggers, etc. If you've ever wanted to know how I set up my bar and what I would buy myself, that video is coming very shortly.
All right.
Moving
okay,
right along.
We got to move along.
Rapid fire, here we go. E3 has been announced as a digital-only event, and they have some presenters already lined up, including Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Warner Brothers, and Koch Media. Koch Media.
Koch Media. So last year, if you recall, there was basically no E3, and the big, game producers involved just did their own press conferences. So Sony did their own, Nintendo did their own, Microsoft did their own, etc. So this is still going to be virtual, but it's going to be open to everybody. And how it's going to look, the details haven't really been fleshed out yet. But it looks like there is going to be one unified virtual event, particularly for E3. And so we can expect to see all the press conferences, the big press conferences and announcements for those particular companies to be happening at once, or at least over the next couple of days. So that'll be a good show when that comes.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll be a host.
There are some notable exceptions here that have not been announced or have not signed up or don't plan to attend. And those are Activision, E3, Epic Games, Sony. Like, love them or hate them, they're still major players in the industry.
They are.
And being absent from this event is a little disappointing, I will say.
And Valve being absent, but Valve hasn't been in anything for
Valve doesn't do anything unless they're announcing a new card game lately.
Yes.
So.
That's right. So yeah, no, I've always been a big fan of E3. I've always enjoyed watching the content. So hopefully it'll be something worthwhile this year. All right. So rapid fire, moving on to the next one.
Yes.
So joining the annals.
This one's in here just because Steve wanted it in here.
I love it. I love this thing because I am such a fan
of Russian cinema.
Just schlock cinema in general. So joining the annals of great cinema classics like Turkish Star Wars and Bali Superman and Italian Spider-Man comes Russian Lord of the Rings.
30-year-old Soviet era Lord of the Rings cinema has now appeared on YouTube.
Yes,
and it's
you can
glorious.
Watch. Oh my gosh, it is absolutely great. Some of the and this was Soviet era TV.
Yes,
with Lord of the Rings storyline adaptation. Now, if you don't speak Russian, you can always turn the closed caption on and do the translated closed caption and try to slog through it. I watched about half hour of it, and it was pretty bad, but like gloriously bad.
Right. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but at the same time, it wasn't far off from. We must go into the mountains to the mines of Mordor. We'll use the snow to chill our vodka.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. They did seem to stay true to the story of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
This isn't The Hobbit. This is the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, so it's only 3 movies instead of what should be 1 movie.
Well, it's the 3 book. I think it's the 3 books.
Yeah.
I only watched the beginning of it.
Yeah, it's the 3 books into 1. Right.
But which wasn't in the movie, they do have Tom Bombadil in this one, which the Peter Jackson ones did not have. So that's a bonus.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're a big fan of Tom Bombadil.
One babushka to roll them all.
Yeah, one babushka.
We were making so many jokes before the show.
Oh yeah. It's great. Was it The Room bad or worse? I don't know. It's on its own level because you can't really compare The Room to Soviet era movie cinema. It's pretty bad. But
Soviet Russia ring tosses you into fire.
That's right. Tommy Wiseau is an unspoken genius, so you really can't. Yeah. You really can't compare the two.
Right.
All right. So let's keep going, I guess.
Yes. So if you're interested, link down in the description. You can go check out that. You can go check it out. Abomination / glory of cinema gone by.
It is a 2-part YouTube, 1 hour each about. So it's about a 2-hour trek through Soviet Russian cinema.
Oh shoot! I didn't put on red alert. Oh no!
Oh, there it goes.
I forgot to fix that one. For those who don't like Star Trek, number 1, unsubscribe. Screw you all.
Yeah.
Number 2, we're Star Trek for the next 10 minutes.
Yes.
Be thankful it's only that.
Yeah.
So first off, yesterday was First Contact Day. April 6th was the day that we supposedly, in the year 2063, made first contact with the Vulcans by flying a ship at faster than light speed. They landed somewhere in, Montana? And
something like that. Yeah.
And made first contact with Earth. Wanted to meet Zephram Cochrane. The fabled scientist with the big brains and definitely no alcoholism. A man after our own hearts.
Yes, 100%.
Right. Anyway, April 6th is First Contact Day. There's always a bunch of hullabaloo around Star Trek at that time, and that's usually when Trek makes their major announcements for the year, and yesterday was no different. Where should we start?
Let's do the big one.
Do you want to do
I think the one that I'm most excited for.
Picard?
Yes.
Okay.
So
we'll start with that, and we'll end with the cartoon. How's that?
Okay. I personally had a little mixed feelings about Picard. I liked it at first, and when it gets towards the end, a little lower.
Yeah.
Still, I love Star Trek. I'm going to watch season 2, and I'm more excited about it now because
Q
is coming back.
Now, what did I say about Star Trek Picard? The only thing that could have made Star Trek Picard better was, number 1, getting rid of the sob story that was Raji and her kid.
Yeah.
And number 2, at the end or beginning of it, having Q just in a voiceover go, "Oh, Picard, the trial never ends," or something like that.
Something like that. Some kind of
or the trial is just beginning. Q is one of the most loved villains on Star Trek because he is so absurd and just such a pain in the ass to Picard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all I said was, if you're gonna do a sequel to the Next Generation, which, let's be fair, Picard was a sequel to the Next Generation, and that's about it. Love it or hate it, it was a pretty decent story.
It was okay.
It probably could have been told in 6 episodes instead of 10.
Yeah.
And I've said that a couple of times.
There was a lot of subplots that went nowhere.
Right.
And like I said, it started out strong with a good mystery that kind of kept you tuned in. Mm-hmm. It quickly spiraled into something I didn't really care so much about. Towards the end, I was just like, oh, okay.
Right.
All right, whatever.
Yeah. But there were like 4 subplots and only 2 of them needed resolution for me to enjoy.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But all I wanted was some overbearing like cue, like, I'm still watching you, Jean-Luc.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted out of it. Yeah. And in the trailer for season 2, we get you're sweeping through Picard's chateau. And you're looking on to a bunch of things that he has laying around. And one of the things that he has laying around is a deck of cards, and face up is the Queen of Hearts. Which, by the way, that's the Queen of Hearts is the 5 of a kind that Data laid down in the original intro to Picard. Like, this isn't right, I shouldn't be here, kind of thing, where he's having a conversation with Data, and it turns out it was like a nightmare. The Queen of Hearts was what Data laid 5 down of. And so they came back to the Queen of Hearts, and the card fades away, and it fades away to Q. And you hear John Delancey over the top go, Jean-Luc, the trial never ends. Goosebumps.
Yeah. So this not only does it mean that Q is coming back, but it also hints that he's going to be part of the overarching story of the series.
Correct.
Not just like with Riker, where he was like in 2 episodes.
Right.
That was it. So he's going to play.
Which I've said one of the episodes I could have done without was Nepenthe.
Yeah. It's like it was.
Episode 3, episode 6, episode 7. I could have done completely without those. I would have been totally fine.
I mean, I understand the need for series to have fillers.
Yes.
And if they actually went and did some kind of throwback to the Next Generation where those filler episodes
had a mini mission within them, like the one where they went down to essentially Las Vegas, and did the personification. That was a funny episode. That was a good episode. It was
silly and it was funny. If they kept it isolated and not make it related to the overarching story,
right? If it was just a side quest they had to go on, kind of thing, I'd totally buy in. Yeah. But the major plot quests of going to wherever the Vulcan or wherever the Romulans were stationed to find Elrond, that was just an errand you didn't need to make.
Right. And I think Star Trek: The Next Generation, and even to a lesser part, Deep Space Nine, because Deep Space Nine had an overarching story.
Yes.
But it also had the individual episodes mattered in between.
You had Miles O'Brien as the PTSD war soldier.
Yeah.
You also had Miles O'Brien as the all of a sudden I'm a god of this culture I just met. One of those stories does the overall arc pretty well. The other does not.
I think it needs to get back to something like that, because I don't mind a nice overarching story, but I maybe would like, because like you said, there's a lot of subplots that they tried to put and shove in there that didn't really fit. I would much rather like it so that they had like a couple episodes that completed the overarching story, but smattered in between were the classic Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I understand what they were trying to do with Raffi and the character building and the son that she let get away because she was always focused on her career and things like that.
It never went anywhere.
But at the same time, I didn't feel anything for it because it was all of 5 minutes of a sob story, which you could have done with her, reminiscing with Seven about, I have a son. I don't see him anymore because I was a terrible mother and this and that.
Yeah.
Like, you could have told that entire episode in 5 minutes.
You even could have had just one episode focused on her as a character and had her character become more endearing to the rest of the series because you got to know her better. It could have involved her son and it could have come to some sort of resolution.
Right.
And then you could have dropped the storyline at that point because then you resolved it in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they put it in the middle of an episode and just let it hang.
And then just let it hang there. And it's like, okay, I guess that's some character development for Raffi, but not a lot.
Not a lot. No, right. Not at all.
Not enough to make or break her character. I was already on board. You didn't need this at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that. There was Discovery Season 4, obviously was announced.
Right.
I wish they would just fit Discovery into the timeline and freaking leave it.
Yeah, I don't know.
All of a sudden we're 32nd century. Like, we're well beyond what Voyager encountered with the 29th century dude with the time traveling shuttle.
I'm not happy with Discovery at all. I'll still watch it.
Right.
But it's the real try hard Star Trek.
It tries too hard.
It tries too hard.
It tries so hard it becomes Star Wars.
Yeah, almost.
If I had to critique it, that's the problem with it, is it's trying so hard to be a space drama and epic and opera that it bypasses Star Trek entirely and goes straight into space fantasy.
Yeah, that's what this last season felt like.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, maybe they can be their own thing. But then they started introducing the Federation thing again. They started going back to the Star Trek thing, and I'm like, well, all right, well, okay, whatever.
They're still trying to stay homed in on what the core of it is, but at the same time, none of the outskirts of what they're doing makes sense.
No,
none of it, as far as traditional Star Trek. And when I'm saying traditional Star Trek, I'm saying everything but Discovery.
Yeah,
I'm not saying like, oh, 90s Star Trek was best Star Trek. Original series has its time. Enterprise has its time.
Yeah.
Voyager has its time. You know, as much as I think, you know, Next Generation and DS9 were 2 and 1, I still give credit to a lot of the other series. My problem is I don't see Discovery following any of the guidelines, and I see it more as the CSI of Star Trek, especially when they brought in, there's a sequel breach. How should I handle this, Captain? Maybe get rid of sequel because we're in the 2360s.
Yes. Yeah.
For God's sakes, if sequel is all we have to look forward to 300 years from now, I'm done. I'm done with the human race entirely. I'm going to go live like a hermit for the rest of my natural life.
Hey, sequel powers all the enterprises, man.
What else do we got?
We do have, and actually, the I guess a new animated series.
Yes, Star Trek Prodigy.
Yeah, and it's going to be starring classic. Well, I guess classic now. Star Trek.
It's over 20 years old. It's classic.
So it's classic. Yes, it's classic. So Kate McGrew is going to reprise her role as Janeway,
as
Captain
Catherine Janeway,
animated Captain Janeway.
Yes. So she is providing the voice for Captain Catherine Janeway on Star Trek Prodigy, which will debut on Nickelodeon as well as on Paramount Plus.
Yeah. So I don't know. It looks like it might be more kid-oriented, right? So
definitely more kid-oriented.
Maybe in the kind of realm of like Star Wars Rebels or something like that, where like it still attracts a mature audience, but it's, you know, not super serious, so it has.
I see this fitting the Star Wars Rebels niche very, very well.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, the art style is very appealing to, again, that Rebels kind of fantasy. It's the stretched out characters, the much more narrow, sleek faces. Very obviously CGI, not trying to be photorealistic, almost like the CGI anime style.
Right.
And we've all seen that kind of artwork. But
looks like they got the robot from Portal 2 in there too.
Right. I don't hate you. Sorry, that's the turret.
That's the turret.
That's not Atlas, right?
Yeah, it's Atlas.
Right, but it looks interesting.
It could be.
I'm definitely going to check this out.
I'll check it out.
My daughter's been interested in Star Trek, and I've been looking for the right way to introduce her to it. It's like, here's Star Trek Picard. Oh wait, no, sorry, everyone dies.
You know what's funny is my 4-year-old was actually sitting down with me and was very interested in watching the original animated Star Trek series.
Really?
Yeah, the old Hanna-Barbera.
Wow.
Or voiced by the original cast.
Right.
He was sitting there watching
the Forgotten
it with me. And
series.
Yeah, and he was digging it.
Right.
He was like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah, Miss will sit down with me occasionally and she'll watch some TNG and DS9. I think I'm actually going to start her on Voyager. I think that's an easier intro for a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
8-year-old, excuse me. God, she's 8 now.
Yeah. Oh, she's.
Ugh. Where did my little girl go? Oh, right. She's 8 now.
She's 8 now. She's not little. Well, you still got another little one right behind her.
I'm 6'5". My girl is not little. My girl passes for some adults I've bought coffee from at Starbucks. Yeah. Welcome to life as a parent.
Yep.
All right. We did get a $6.99 Canadian donation. Thank you, Kaka. Kaka Pepe.
Kaka Pepe.
Kaka Pepe. Thank you. Does drama happen behind the scenes on YouTube between tech channels? We talk to each other.
Yeah.
We are all aware of any BS that's happening from a manufacturer to a tech channel.
Yeah. From
Linus on down to me and even and lower than that. We're all kind of connected. We all have friends in the industry. We all talk to the same hardware reps. We all talk to the same vendors. Yes.
Most of the outside projected drama is mostly manufactured fake drama.
Yes, you are correct.
Like that stuff with Bite My Bits. That's all fake stuff. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Bite My Bits generated a feud out of thin air, and so I sued him. And you can talk to my lawyer about the rest. I'm kidding. But we talk to each other behind the scenes. We all kind of know the gist of what's going on with different manufacturers, different OEMs, who's asking this, who's taking payment for reviews, we know. It shouldn't happen, but we know. Mm-hmm. So, is there drama? Not really, because we're all in the same industry. It's kind of like race car drivers. It's like, oh, this person totally hates this person. No, they don't. They just race against them. Mm-hmm. We're like Formula One. No one actually hates each other.
Yeah.
I'll say that on the track, and I'll say that on camera. I'll say on camera I'm not a fan of X YouTube channel because they review things differently than me and they cause problems for me. I'll say that Gamers Nexus, since they posted their you're mounting AIOs the wrong way, has resulted in like 1 million comments about how I mounted all my AIOs the wrong way, and I'm wrong about everything that I've ever done because I didn't listen to Jesus Steve. However, I still fully respect Steve. I've talked to him off camera. Great guy, lots of fun. Have no problems with him.
Yeah.
I disagree with some of his review style, but
there's no beef behind it.
But there's no beef.
Yeah, there's no beef.
I'm still gonna have a beer with him at CES next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no beef.
Yeah.
There's a couple of beefs that I'm aware of. I'm not going to mention them here. They exist for personal reasons, not YouTube reasons.
Yeah.
Joe said the RX 6900 XT was the best graphics card ever made, but Gamers Nexus Steve says it's the RTX 3090. Who will win in a battle royale fight to the death? It's Joe versus Steve on Tuesday Night Benchmark, y'all.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't exist.
That doesn't work. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And last but not least,
yes,
the best Star Trek that has been released this decade.
Yes, the one of the new Trek. This is my favorite. Is
Lower Decks.
Lower Decks is
Lower Decks.
Actually, I mean, I kind of criticized it the first season when it came out, because I kind of expected more. But you watched it a second time. I watched it and I kind of enjoyed it. And
right.
of the three between Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks, I like Lower Decks the best.
Yeah.
Just because it's light, it's fun, it's got some reference humor to it. It's really good.
Lower Decks, I was so afraid that Paramount was going to try to anti-meme themselves.
Yeah.
And if you know what I mean by that, it is that Paramount would go to extreme lengths to prop up Picard and Discovery so other people would watch it and it would get better rankings and ratings. What ended up happening is Lower Decks ended up not taking itself seriously at all, and in fact poked fun at every other franchise,
right,
with ruthless abandon.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. They parodied themselves
You're my Chadich.
Yeah.
And the pack lids are now, you know, something to be taken seriously, and all the little problems that could ever happen based on some weird circumstances, like you know, you guys are smart and I wanted to be smart too, so I plugged my brain into the computer core and now the core is going crazy. Don't you talk about my dad. You know, like, all of that is in there, and it is so great.
Yeah. And it's not what I would call high sci-fi. It's not your traditional Star Trek, but it is the most entertaining.
It exists within canon. It's a very fun ride. And overall, it's just a great show.
Yeah.
Like John and I were trying to compare it to like season 1 Rick and Morty. Like, who had the better debut? Because Rick and Morty season 1 is pretty epic as far as TV series go.
I would say Rick and Morty. The writing is a little more clever.
And we kind of went with Rick and Morty, but it's a very close second to Lower Decks, because you're going like episode 1, great. Episode 2, also great, maybe like 5% less. Episode 3, I could probably do without. Although episode 3 was Anatomy Park in Rick and Morty. Yeah. And then episode 4 was Meeseeks and Destroy, which was Jerry and the Meeseeks box, which is like great. One of the classic episodes. Followed by episode 5, which was the you're on a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation, which is also one of the classic Rick and Morty episodes. They also had a couple of others that were like, yeah, that's an okay episode later in the season. But you've got Interdimensional Cable, you've got the original pilot, you've got a cliffhanger at the end. Like, it's a great opening season. Yeah. And Lower Decks, I think I could have only done without like maybe one of the episodes, and the rest are either good or great.
I think it has potential to become I'm going to say more like a mix between Futurama and Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
I would think. Because they do have like all the science stuff going on, so they could do some crazy stuff like that, very similar to Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
but it's also in the future, and they don't take.
Remember, anything can be anything can be explained if you can sum it up in 2 sentences with a witty.
Tachyon particles are somehow. Yeah.
something tachyon particles with the deflector dish. Oh my god, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, why would we do that?
Right.
Well, it was a Futurama. You got to put some kind of simple metaphor behind it.
Yeah.
like
putting too much air in a balloon and something bad happens.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, there's that. I do think you're exactly right. Somewhere between Rick and Morty and Futurama, with a mix of both and kind of the best aspects of both. Yeah. And I'm honestly very curious to see where season 2 goes.
Yeah, it'd be good. I think it could work itself into something better. But you know, as long as the writers of the of Picard and Voyager stay away from it, then I think we'll be okay.
I want the writers for episodes 1, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah, those were good.
Yeah. If those writers can stay on board and give all of the in references to the writers of Lower Decks, I think we'll all be better for it. If the writers of 2, 3, and 7 get a hold, God help us all.
Yes.
We'll see. Anyway, this has been episode 178 here on Talking Heads, your once-week live show for the latest in beer and tech news every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in helping the content along and you like what you see here, think about joining the Patreon or Float Plane. Links are both down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to the Discord server, where you can keep the chat going with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, and all of the hosts from Talking Heads, and the ever-growing community over there. Steve, I know you don't do anything in the infosphere, but you got anything to plug? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I would like a nap more often. I don't think anybody can provide that for me, but I'd just like to say that.
I could use more naps. I took one today, in fact.
Yeah, no, I'd like that, but no.
Before we started the stream, actually after we started the stream, but 14 minutes before we went live, I mentioned that I got my second COVID shot today, and it feels like I've been shot in the arm.
Yes.
So, yeah, I took a nap today.
Okay, that makes sense. You deserve it. Yeah. There we go. But yeah, we'll be in the after party shortly, I guess, right?
Yep. Yeah, join us in the after party over on the Discord. We usually do that from about 10:30 to midnight Pacific time. It is always a great time. Jeff is hammered. It's a wrap. Yeah, you're not wrong. This is all of 15%.
Yes. I still have one more to go. So
I think I can still walk a straight line. So I'm doing all right.
You're okay. Well, you're gonna have to find the bathroom after this, I'm sure.
I will.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, we will see you next Wednesday.
See you guys.
Cheers, everyone. All right. Now, the great thing would be if I just let the camera roll for another 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, because we screwed up
because I screwed up the intro.
You should take it in with you to the bathroom.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.